这次又在回归到训练和比赛当中，也是给队伍提升了很大的士气，然后包括说战术上面也变得非常多变，然后包括说把整个队伍的环境也改变了不少。对，然后作为为数不多的从最开始 LPL 打到现在的我和他也是搭配起来也算比较默契吧。
Cool to hear Uzi's impact and kind of rejuvenating the roster as well from RNG, because RNG honestly was struggling before Chinese New Year. It was a question of, is Uzi going to start as soon as we get back from Chinese New Year? Is that going to be a thing? Clearly he has, he's in scrims, and then the team looking significantly better.
And it's one of those moments where you try and figure out, well, you know, bringing in, I would say a new player, I guess, to scrims. Theoretically, I mean, Uzi's been there throughout the entire time, but you start to realize that, yeah, we have more options here if our bottom lane just consistently wins, right? So it goes back to their own strategy in the spring split of last year, summer split of last year, where you're like, yeah, we're just kind of winning. I mean, through the bottom side of the map. So you just start prioritizing lanes for the bottom side of the map. And sure, he's saying more strategies, but it just means that they have access to a new strategy that they'll probably go towards quite frequently, honestly. So love to see going into the next game if they once again pick another hard, I would guess, winning bottom side of the map.
And speaking of strategies, I do want to pick a little bit a part of FPX's new strategy that came in. They're expanding their playbook, looking towards a late game here, which is very different to the usual early game aggression. You know, every time Pepper's in an interview, he talks about aggressiveness. I actually don't think there's been a single interview where he hasn't talked about that, but it's all about getting that early game rolling, you know, moving into the mid game, trying to end around the 30 to 35 minute mark is like the MO of FPX. Not what we saw here, so FPX, are they going to go back to the tried and true?
I gotta wonder about that. I feel like it's kind of awkward whenever you get into an interview with Pepper and he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill him.
This is like every time.
I'm just gonna fight him. He's like, well, what about your, you know, living situation? He's like, nah, I'm just gonna kill them all. And it's like, wait a minute, okay. But that just feels like the environment, the kind of identity that FPX have built up for themselves, as you mentioned. That the fact that they've, sure, you can kind of make the statement that they're an aggressive team regardless of like this game, but it took a lot of time for it. And sure, you could tell that the practice, the scrims have been working out in the sense that they've been a lot more patient. Frost made a good point that it doesn't feel like that's a natural state for them. That the fact that they're not really 100% ready for that just yet. Because that bottom side of the map, that kill, I guess, that FPX went in for was a little bit too greedy, showcases the natural inclination of the team, where I would say, by the way, I'd blame the Rek'Sai a little bit there. Was basing, didn't notice the Alistar put up the head, but regardless, it was just the fact that they still wanted to fight. They still wanted to go for it, and they got hurt by it.
I will say with some of our new teams, it seems like after a certain point they start to get lost. At the early game, it's like, okay, we know how to place our defensive vision, we know how to snowball, or rather stop the snowball going into mid and late game. But once they get there, it's just like, actually, how do we set this up? You know, not enough time in those scenarios.
Yeah, it's just the natural state, of course, of being a new team is that the early game is the first step, because you keep getting smashed in the early game and scrims, you're not going to learn anything. But when you learn about the early game, you're just going into a new world, essentially, of the mid game, the late game. Suddenly you have such an open map, so it's like, well, now we need to know how to play this one out. It seems like FPX have gone through a lot of those stages, of course, going into week 6. They're looking like a competitive team going into the mid-late game.
Good learning experiences for them going into RNG right here. They will be banning away the Skarner towards Karsa, a Tam Kench ban as well. On the opposite side, we're seeing a Jarvan ban. Camille and Azir will round out those bans.
And here's the thing. Even though Karsa showcased he can play the Rengar, I still think you have to ban the Sejuani out. Sejuani is a first pick priority out of RNG because it means that they can start fights a little bit more easily. The one weakness RNG had in the last game was how hard it was for them to actually look for dives. Sejuani would completely make that easy for them. So not only would it allow them to get that pick immediately, but it allows for counter picks in other lanes. It's sad that they get that opening for themselves.
Yeah, FPX deciding to ban away the Vladimir right here towards RNG. Also a ban at Gimgoon because he will not be able to pick that this game as well. And it's going to be the first pick of Sejuani. So
I mean, look
pull
at
that
him.
one out.
He's smiling. He's laughing. Why did they give me the Sejuani pick? Sure, Pepper would love to find good jungle matchups, but when you're going up against excellent teams, they don't care about the matchups necessarily. They care about getting their lanes ahead. And then once you get to the mid-late game portions, Sejuani's a god.
Yeah, for sure. And also a priority pick for Pepper right here as well, also taken away. So he's no longer got the prize Jarvan. He doesn't have the Sejuani either, so we'll be looking elsewhere now, maybe towards Kha'Zix, something like a Rengar. First pick comes in, it will be Galio. And once again, FPX doubling down on the LWX and the Kog'Maw and the scaling strat.
Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't really matter what happens in the bottom lane when the Galio exists, right? Galio is great defensively, makes your game go a little bit longer so you can have a push priority. It makes it harder for RNG to kind of pincer you, so you're like, wait a minute, now this game's going so much longer because we have a Galio. But at the same time, Galio speeds up a game depending on how you use it, because then suddenly you're going for a bottom lane dive, makes it easier to kind of get that going for yourself. So Kog'Maw, sure, great late game AD carry, but also really fantastic in the mid game just because he gets that one, I guess, 2-item spike of Rage Blade and Wit's End. And so it's like, well, who do you actually go up against that one? How do you fight that back? So right now, FPX is keeping it open. They can play early game, they can play the late game.
Yeah, the rest of the composition will really tell the tale right there. Braum comes in alongside the Kog'Maw. And on the opposite side, it was an Alistar pickup from RNG and also Taliyah for Xiaohu in the mid lane, plus a takeaway from Ming.
Yeah, they're just firing through the bans right immediately. I like the Braum. It's a good takeaway coming out of Ming. Sure, they can just ban it going into the second phase, but it kind of makes the bottom lane nice defensive. They can have a few more skirmishes along with the Galio, and it takes away the Braum, Sejuani kind of rigidness of skirmishes. So now the skirmishes are a little bit more dictated by FPX.
Caitlyn's ban against Uzi, not going to let him have that one again heading into game 2. Will be a Kha'Zix ban against Pepper. Varus as well will also join that ban list against Uzi. Looking towards final ban now from RNG.
And here's the thing. Naturally, they're going to start banning out junglers. Once again, what Galio can do is that you can pick more carry junglers. You can really go in towards the pool. Pepper can just say, all right, I'll pick myself the Lee Sin, I'll pick myself the Rek'Sai. All I really do is pick a skirmish, and Galio's going to back me no matter what. So I'm kind of a pseudo frontline just for a little bit of time. So sure, I'll lose like half HP if I'm a carry, but Galio will already be able to jump right in front of me and kind of take the brunt of it all.
And this is what we saw out from the FPX series against LGD, is that they practiced the Galio and the Rengar composition, you know, having him jump into the backlines, follow up with the Galio. Previously didn't work out for FPX, but was fantastic in that series against LGD right there. It will be a Sion pickup for the top lane here for Gimgoon. That was also a final ban of the Gangplank as well in from RNG, so move towards that pick instead.
Good lord, that's a lot of tanks. 3 melee champions coming out of FPX. One of them is going to be the mid laner, so that allows Gimgoon to go towards... I mean, he's already picked himself up the Sion, so who am I kidding? But it's interesting to see. It allows Pepper to go towards a carry. So now I just expect outright that he picks a carry jungler, and since he's going to be the last pick, could be anything. I actually can't even guess. Sure, there's been a few jungle bans leveling towards him, but even if he finds it kind of like, you know what, creative, I'm going to pick a Nidalee, he can do that for himself. And allow, of course, for Kog'Maw to get healed up, topped up. So I'm sure I'm talking about Nidalee. Don't really see that as a Pepper-style champion. I would say more so maybe Lee Sin. I'll say Lee Sin.
I'm going to put my chips on Rengar. Let's see who's going to be right here. There's actually a Trundle coming out for RNG. So I'll go into the top side. I only see one Trundle so far in the LPL, and that'll be facing down the Sion. You'd have to think in the top side.
Yeah, before I even touch that Trundle, I'm going to take my chips. He's hovering the Lee Sin. You lose this game. Okay, you know what? He's hovering it for long enough. I'm going to talk about the Trundle. So you're right. The Trundle on the top side of the map. A few of the champions that can... Yeah, you're done. A few of the champions that can actually deal with the Sion in the top lane, because Sion top lane changes the meta a lot of the times. We're seeing a lot more Cho'Gath in the top to deal with the Sion. This time around, Letme's like, I've gone to the Trundle in the past. A few problems that Trundle has had is dealing with teamfights specifically. By the way, Sion has that kind of a trouble as well. He doesn't really deal with going through, dealing with the backline immediately. In fact, I think that Sion's going to have a tough time dealing with Alistar, because it's so hard for Sion to deal with those fights. So not only is it going to be a little bit harder for Sion to deal with those fights, but now it's going to be the Trundle that deals with them quite well in the side lane split push. But also, if he does decide to join the fights, can ulti him and get a lot of resistance, free resistances in these team fights.
Yeah, just drain one of the many tanks that FPX has in this game, so Trundle's going to have a field day. No matter really where he goes in this game, also facing down that side in the top lane, so no more of that pesky banner usage, and it's like when you're playing into the Vladimir and you can't clear it, Trundle is going to destroy that kind of minion.
100%, just like I destroyed you in the pick ban here with the Lee Sin, so you're done here, son.
Well, that's why you're the color, I guess. That's why I'm the lowly play-by-play.
Yeah, get out of here.
But we'll take one more look at these compositions. So FPX, with a Kog'Maw pick, once again built a massive front line in front of him, plus it was the Lee Sin in the end coming in for the jungle, so that is a way to get into the backline and try and use this Galio offensively.
Yeah, so even though we, look towards the Kog'Maw and say, late game, no, that's actually really much of an early game, just because the Braum, great skirmishing power, Galio can look towards the bottom side, and for me, the key champions are going to be Lee Sin and Sion. Sion, technically, has a good laning phase. This time around, it's going to be a little bit harder for him, but once he pings 6, he's going to be a lot more active on the map. So that's one thing that I'm going to look towards. And of course, FPX has been a team that's been so centered around their jungler, so for them to go so heavily towards that last pick jungler means that there's going to be a lot of faith for them going towards Pepper and allowing him to start the fights. We've seen a lot of great Lee Sins in the league A lot of good Lee Sins who can just win the game for themselves. I mean, that's I would say flawless and Rogue Warriors is one of them.
Cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just completely take control of the early game. Knowing that he's going up against Sejuani, that's kind of hard. But if he can play well enough, I have faith in him.
It's tough. It will be difficult, and you can see because we've gone sepia. That's a pause, ladies and gentlemen, but we are going to take a look at the Rift. Intermission, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back after this scheduled break.
All right, so you know what? Gives us a little time to talk about it. So I guess I gotta have to open up the Lee Sin because I've already kind of showcased that I'm not much of a fan of Lee Sin going into Sejuani a little bit too much. It's a little bit hard. Sure, of course, when you get red buff, all that nonsense, you can deal with the Sejuani quite well. But what's tough about going up against Sejuani regardless is that, sure, technically some of these melee matchups are good matchups. But Sejuani has great burst because of her passive. So if she gets those 3-4 melees, auto attacks, I guess it's 2 if she lands both of her W in and out. Then she can stun you. Then she gets the percent HP damage. That just chunks most champions early on in the game. And then she just queues out. She just disengages. You're like, wait a second. I'm going up against the tank jungler early on. And she just beat me in a skirmish and ran off. And I can't chase her. So that's why I feel like it's so difficult a lot of the times when you see Kha'Zix versus Sejuani, Lee Sin versus Sejuani. A lot of these should be good matchups, but the only real, I would say, jungle matchups that consistently win versus Sejuani are range matchups, like Nidalee. That's why I kind of mentioned it. They're already on the map. You know what? They're already out there.
Take 2. We're back into the game. So game 2 between RNG and FPX. Actually, what's the crowd going to do? Are they going to jump in now?
There we go.
There we go. Oh, no. Okay, well, everyone stop the chanting.
You know what? This is why you don't chant. Because Letme took his headset off just to hear them. Just to make sure they were doing that, accidentally disconnected.
Rest in peace. All right. We'll try for the third time. Third time's the charm.
Yeah,
but now it's a question of whether the crowd right here will jump back in with the chant, because that was definitely an incomplete chant. I would say they got 2 out of 3 right there.
This is when I take a stand, honestly. Try to go for a chant for the first time. Gets into sepia mode. Second time around, they were in it. They tried. Honestly, I'm only expecting FPX for the third one.
There's always a ringleader. Maybe we'll have to be the ringleaders here, Raz. We'll hit mute on our mics and then we'll get the crowd going.
Maybe. Don't think people would be happy about that. Or at least a few.
But they wouldn't know where it's coming from.
Oh, that's true.
Because we're hidden. There's the opportunity.
They have ears. They know where it's coming from. They'll look up.
They can't see us, Raz. There's a barrier in front of us.
All right, that's true. That's fair. You win this one.
Completely hidden. I'm just looking at this. We don't have an update for you guys just yet. Just got a small pause at the start of this game, trying to resolve that issue as fast as possible. Once we have more information, we will, of course, relay that to you.
And so let's talk about, for me, I'm just going to get hit on the bottom lane immediately, because we don't get to see a lot of Kalista Alistars. People usually get at least one of those banned or picked away just because it's so effective once they hit 6. Throw a big cow at you that's probably level 6 as well, and he's just not going to be killable. Too much resistances just based off that ulti alone, and of course, you get a CC on him, he's just running at you anyways because he's canceled that out. So, of course, it's a very strong composition, or at least a strong bottom side focus. I like the Braum Kog'Maw because earlier on you can trade into it. The only real worry is that when you do ping 6, it's not just going to be the Kalista and Alistar that are forcing the fight. It's going to be the Taliyah as well. It's going to be Sejuani, depending on what level she is. And it's going to be, I say Trundle would just stick to his lane and try to keep Sion essentially stuck down, doesn't want to TP, because if he TPs, the rest of RNG disengage. And of course, he's going to be just hammering at the turret. So RNG have a very clear focus in their composition that really just, once again, goes towards the bottom line. Feels like this is going to be something we're going to be talking about quite a bit when it comes to RNG and their future team compositions. Because once again, this time around, it's not the range of a Caitlyn that they want to defend, but it's actually the melee, skirmishing, I guess, team fight nature of the Kalista that now draws them towards a fight.
And plus the fact when you have Uzi on the team, he definitely like warps the team strategy and it's just like, give me the resources and I'll carry a game for you. We just saw that 808 on the Caitlyn, annihilated the whole team by himself.
Yep, definitely the level 1 banner of command. I'm going to be calling that one from now on. He's essentially just the bannerman for his team. Play around him from, I guess, level 1 from that point forward. Yep. And we always kind of talk about, maybe a little bit meme, how much resources he gets when he joins the squad. He's just had 6 games. 6 games, and he's already, I would say, immediately, of course, statistically, top 2 in how much damage percentage and gold share that he gets. So he's already showcased to be the center of the squad.
He absolutely is. Third time's the charm. Touch wood, no more pauses. 1:30 into this one, and Xiaohu Just entering the laning phase, so just taking a look at the vision if there was placed any down. No, it just seems like there's one ward in the river there in the Pixel Brush for RNG, and that's pretty much it. Will be Gimgoon helping out on the top side for Pepper, starting on the red buff, moving towards the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, that's a pretty good ward, just catching out if there's any shenanigans coming out of Pepper, taking red buff towards the blue buff immediately. It's what you always have to be afraid of if you're any kind of tank jungler overall, is that the enemy jungler is just going to go for a 1 buff start, get level 2, and trying to skirmish you just because they have red buff on top of that. So really good ward to catch that out. It's not going to happen.
Got Grasp of the Undying into the top lane for Letme, facing down a Glacial Augment for Gimgoon, choosing not to go for the Comet here. Feels like he's just not going to be able to shove the Trundle out, so instead just goes for that option instead.
Yep. I mean, I really do like the Grasp of the Undying. Usually, I mean, there are a few people, depends on the Trundles, honestly. Going towards the Doran Shield is one way to go about it. Another one is the Corruption Potion as well, if you want to kind of take a slower pace of this laning phase. For him, he doesn't really see that, so I would say the Doran Shield is actually a more aggressive approach because he's going to be blocking damage while just dishing out a few of his own. So good for him, I would say. I'd like to see that Letme's now taking command of this game. We don't get to see a lot of Letme games where he just gets stuck on a carry, and we get to see him being played through, I would say, a topside focus. This is going to be that opportunity for him.
Very few, especially with Zatai coming onto the team. It almost felt like if you want a tank, you give Letme a shot. If you want a carry, you go Zatai. But now we're seeing Trundle come in from Letme.
Yeah, this is fun. Literally, I would say the one Malphite game we saw this split was for Letme. So it's hilarious to see that it was kind of turning into that kind of a meme. We're like, yeah, I guess he is a tank player. But it seems like he's got more tricks underneath him.
I'm going to Demolish, conditioning as well on the second win. So going to be incredibly difficult to push out this Trundle. Precision second as well.
I really love Demolish on Trundle. I
know you do.
I run it every time.
I've seen it.
It's great because if you can take that much pressure in the lane matchup, you actually have to be so cognizant of your TP usage as Gimgoon. Because if he loses a trade like this, if he has to TP out of the lane, I mean, has to leave and then TP back into the lane, then it's so hard because you just lose so much damage on that turret, especially since Chomp is able to take it out as well.
But one way of shutting down the Trundle early is to gank him, and in comes Pepper, flashes away through the minion wave, looks for the flash, but he has no kick, follows up, lands the Q, Letme into the brush, comes in with the resonating strike, and the slowdown comes in from the Sion. Pepper, last auto attack, and first blood.
You know what? Letme feels cheated. He sent out the pillar, and guess who was on the opposite side of it? You know what? Pepper. Pepper decided he just went open the door, so he thought he was able to close out the jungler and Gimgoon. It was a good timing on the Trundle pillar, knowing that Pepper had already used his Q, so it would have been a lot harder for him to kind of get past that. But just a misplay, I suppose, and he loses his life for it.
Yeah, mechanical outplay right there. Bot lane being pushed in as well from Uzi and Ming. We'll also get the Demolish proc coming in here, so slowly that tower's being chipped away from. This is a Braum Kog'Maw lane. You'd expect they would be able to at least stand up against this bottom lane pre-6.
But the problem here is, of course, the fact that Lee Sin showed himself on the top side of the map, so they didn't want to push out. So not only did they not want to take the trades, knowing that, sure, we can, if Braum lands a Q or if he gets an auto attack, we can go all in on that one person. But that's usually a trap. You know, Alistar gets a headbutt, pulverize, randomly Sejuani's on top of you. So it was a good call for them to just stick by the turret.
And for now, is that one kill over to FPX? Was that actually done in terms of top lane? Well, Sion did sacrifice a lot of minions to make that play happen. He's actually 2 waves behind that Trundle, who's now coming back into lane. So in terms of that 1v1 matchup, it's actually not too bad for that Trundle.
May not be too bad, but I will still say it's a bad setting for the Trundle because Trundle wants to get incredibly far ahead. But the bad base timing means that he now has, I guess, the rejuvenation bead, so he can get the Tiamat really early on. He would have much rather getting the Tiamat early. A good base timing is obviously getting a Tiamat, getting the Sheen, so he can not only impact the specific matchup, but if he's under turret, enemy turret, he can still get good chomp damage down. He's not going to be able to do that, so it does slow the pace of the game down for Letme.
Yeah, making it harder for him just to knock down that tower, but we'll see if Gimgoon actually has the down to try and deal with that. He's gone towards the Glacial Shroud right here, moving towards that Frozen Heart, trying to be a big dent in that armor as the engage comes into the bottom lane. Chris also gets knocked in from this one, a flash comes after, and we're frozen in time.
I don't even want to see him die. I actually don't.
This is the end of a JoJo's adventure episode.
Really is a to-be-continued moment, honestly.
Don't worry, he got out alive. Cut the tape.
At this point, LWX is like, get me out of here. Fly me out. That's just, yeah, kind of an unfortunate situation.
Unfortunate. So you'd have to assume he's dead in the end, but we'll take a look in a second.
We were talking about new win conditions coming out of RNG. That's your new win condition. You just get a random kill on the bottom side of the map when you expect the FPX lineup to have something nice and defensive. Even, of course, Braum has in Guardian. I mean, that's a good keystone. But on top of the shield, it's like, how do you die in that situation? But they obviously took a poor skirmish. We're probably going to see a replay in the near future of that, how that actually happened. But the problem is, it happened.
Unfortunate. Braum basically just joined in to also get knocked up by the Alistar, so he was unable to really defend the Kog'Maw in that situation. And yeah, it's finding that random kill in the bottom lane, which is also a way that FPX have managed to play around the top side. It's like we find a random kill in top lane for some reason, and now we're able to play around the split push coming in from Gimgoon. But this time, it's actually picking up the Sion, who is on that tank.
Yep.
But yeah, getting that kill early, it's just like didn't even need to impact the bottom lane with Taliyah looking towards that level 6. So if it just wins on its own, then great.
There are going to be a lot of big ifs on that one. I think the one secured point, of course, nothing that's going to be out of contention is, of course, the first gank that comes out. I want to talk about that first gank because I really do love, sure, it's kind of a standard, clear bot side, go top side, get the gank off. I guess he cleared top side, went bot side, and went back top. So that's probably why Trundle was a little bit weirded out by the timing of the gank. But ultimately, the gank happened, and he used this flash. And I think that's one thing I really want to hit on is just because using your flash in that scenario as a Trundle really sucks. Because he thought he could get out of that situation. We talked about why it was mechanically possible for him to get out. It didn't happen. He tried for it. Now he loses so much more out of it. Because the Glacial Shroud getting picked up means that the trading pattern from Trundle not going to be too much. You know, if you're Sion, it means that you're a little bit more easily able to take those trades. You have mana too, so you can expend some mana to trade back. Maybe he actually starts taking positive trades if you're Sion.
Yeah.
If you're under your tower, you start winning out in the matchup. Trundle doesn't have enough damage to actually combat you. So now we're having another discussion where can he actually take the 1v1 matchup versus the Sion rather than he has a full command of the lane, and now can he actually get few chip damage onto the turret? And of course, now Trundle probably not going to even try for that just because he doesn't have flash again, so a re-gank again from the Lee Sin is possible.
Yeah, no flash, no teleport, poor back timing as well, so it doesn't have the Tiamat. So we're essentially waiting for that next recall to come in, for him then to go up against the Sion. But then it's just like, well, do you find that window in between Glacial Shroud and Frozen Heart? And then once he gets the Frozen Heart, then it's like Sion's able to be that brick wall in front of Trundle for even longer. So it's given them this opportunity to actually just not lose everything in the top lane to Trundle batting down your tower.
Yes, and that's why I think that FPX really created themselves a really good opportunity to create some problems for RNG, to split the map aside. Say that now top lane is great. Sure, some gold on a Sion is like, well, what does that actually mean? I guess the team fight's a little bit easier for them to output because Sion can walk up a little bit further. But also, the kills are going down onto Lee Sin in the future ganks. He's going to be dealing so much damage. He's going to be able to actually execute damage, go towards more raw damage nature of it, get himself the BF sword into Guardian Angels on like third item. And so now if you are Taliyah, now if you're Kalista, you have to worry about that Lee Sin running you down. So I actually now wonder if Royal Never Give Up was able to get a nice advantage bottom side. Because now you're going to see a good switch of, well, can FPX get something on the top side? And how fast is that going to be? Because usually bottom side advantages are a lot more easily to execute on.
And Uzi, he can get big, he can knock down the whole team once again heading into the second game. But at the same time, you know, if that Galio gets rolling with the Lee Sin able to make it into the backlines, then that will be a way to shut down that AD carry. You know, there are tools here for FPX to make it happen around that mid game if Kog'Maw, you know, gets out of the laning phase. However, if this kill goes through and Kog'Maw gets pushed behind, then it's like Winsu time is all messed up, and then trying to find those spikes becomes a bit of a pain.
That's true. That's why I want to see a little bit more of the Lee Sin, because we gave that opportunity of saying Lee Sin can take those few kills.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. But what's fun is that the reason why you can see so much confidence coming out of FPX on the Lee Sin pick. Sure, he's able to get that one kill. Sure, Pepper is a Lee Sin player. There was like a nice video piece before we got into this day. And it was, I guess, one of those nice video pieces of, let's say, the FPX members casting their own games. And they got to cast their own games, see Pepper really pop off on the Lee Sin. And he was able to get a nice top side of the map, Lee Sin flash kick onto the Cho'Gath. Now, the reason why I care about that is because it's usually incredibly it's very hard for a Lee Sin to get that kick off because you're going up against a Cho'Gath that can just silence you and kill you in that situation. So I would say that FPX makes an impossible situation possible with the Lee Sin pick. So it's a real X factor in this game if you can find those opportunities in teamfight with an Alistar running at you.
But that's really it, right? It's like X Factor when you look at Lee Sin players, because you have like Flawless, you have players like Cleared, and it's just like, well, they have it, right? You can't really put your finger on it, but like while we look towards Pepper and he's like, well, he's a good Lee Sin, you know? I would actually look towards his Jarvan and say that like that's the X Factor for him. Like he just makes things happen that you feel like aren't going to be possible, and then he just does it.
I don't want to hear X Factor and Jarvan in the same damn sentence, all right? It's such an easy executable champion. I'm thankful that the new meta is kind of pushing that out there, just because now you have to be more of a tank Jarvan, so suddenly you're not going to be like, oh, well, I just got a level 2 gank off with Electrocute. Now I can go straight damage and like look to try and execute some AD carries like just by myself. So the ulti itself doesn't really mean too much. So, I mean, sure, his Jarvan's great. His Jarvan's great. I think what's great about the Jarvan for his team is that it's easy to execute for the team, right? Yeah. Sure, he's able to get the damage across, set the ulti, so it's a little bit easier for the team, for like himself to start the fight, but it's an easy go signal for his team to just engage.
And it was the same for when we saw his Camille come out, because we saw the Camille recently, and it was just like, hang on, he's just playing Camille exactly in the same way that Jarvan is. And he just like jumps in with the ultimate, goes in with the engage, and it's like, hang on, it's actually just watching him play Jarvan on Camille pretty much. And it worked out, you know, it was good for FPX. They're currently on that 3-game winning streak. Same thing for RNG right here. So someone will have to lose, unfortunately, today, but we are going to send it over to the Alistar because we have a bit of a prolonged pause. So we'll see you later.
Record scratch, freeze frame. Now, you might be wondering how I ended up in this situation. That's what LPX is thinking right there. As the frame that he is about to die, the game seems to have run into some technical difficulties. Just to give some insight into that, we're having some internet connectivity issues. Hopefully, they will be resolved relatively shortly, and we should be getting back into the game very soon. But that being said, we've still got a lot that we can talk about in how this sort of happened and how the situation ended up the way it did. Because so far, it's looking like a repeat of the laning phase from Game 1.
So we have a green room that the casters go back to backstage. So when we're not on the analyst desk, when it throws to Pulse and Raz, Dom and I get up and we join our other team backstage. And as we were all watching the draft, and I saw the Alistar locked in, Clint and I were like, Uzi's going to play Kalista. That's exactly what happened, and then it was both, they're going to all in and kill them at level 4 or level 5. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Now, what's interesting is I thought that Karsa would actually start topside and allow Uzi and Ming to get control over the creep wave and then set up a trap for Kog'Maw. Instead, what they did is they actually springboarded Karsa and they put more priority on Trundle. And so that's kind of the first interesting discussion, where by starting Sejuani bot, she went red, blue, then had priority over getting the Scuttle vision to allow Trundle to kind of take off into that Sion, because it is a very interesting counter, you know, utilizing that pillar to interrupt the decimating smash.
That being said, though, it seems as though FPX were prepared for that, as they were able to gank top and get the likes of that first blood onto the Trundle. Good attempt to try to interrupt the resonating strike with his pillar, but it's so close, and when it's just down to the execution, it's kind of unlucky.
That would actually be just a play that would make me mad. I was like, really? That didn't interrupt? So that's fine.
Yeah, well, we've actually got that play for you right now. We've got a chance for you to see that first blood. Letme, he's there, he's ready, but here comes Pepper.
And I know that Pepper on your screen is going to kill the Trundle right here, but I actually want to take everyone's eye and draw it towards the mini-map and check out all of the vision. Again, by starting Karsa on the bottom side of the map, the idea was to create this safety net for Letme on the top side to really make the Trundle thrive. By prioritizing the Scuttle Crab, the vision has just gone down now, as well as some deep vision already in Pepper's jungle. So Karsa had a very clear game plan, just keep track of Lee Sin, and we're starting to see a little bit of the cracks of why Letme hasn't been the primary starting top laner for RNG and why it's been moved to Zatai.
It does create a question when you compare the two of them together, seeing how Zatai traditionally has been more of a split pitcher. He's more happy to play in the side lane, whereas you compare it with Letme, who he has a bit more tendency to group up.
I mean, it's an issue. If you have a Kalista and an Alistar into the bottom lane, and you have the opportunity to start top side as their jungler and then set up a very early gank or rotation onto bot side, but then you say, no, we're going to shift our priority to try to make the Trundle work, and then Trundle kind of throws away all of that extra effort. That's resources, time, and energy that Karsa could have spent bottom with Uzi and Ming. So, unfortunately, it's a byproduct. I'm sure Letme will be fine. He's on Trundle. He's going to hyperscale anyway, but there's definitely a big target now drawn on him in the top side without flash.
Yeah, this actually brings us back to something that we talked about at the end of Game 1, the decision-making for these teams. We chose to play the Trundle. He chose to take it into the matchup as a potential you can't really counter Sion right now just because he's so strong.
He's New Ornn.
Exactly. But this is RNG choosing to try to play this out with the likes of the Trundle. Certainly later on, once he's able to absorb those stats from the Sion, he could have big impact in the fights. But
it's also a very old school RNG composition. So again, if we look at the scaling between FPX's comp and RNG's comp, because they have Kalista, they don't have something like a Kog'Maw, they don't have the Caitlyn, they don't have any insurance policy policy for the late game. So they're on a timer. Taliyah is going to drop off in damage late game. She doesn't have an ultimate that does any sort of damage. She has big mid-game power spike. You then have your Kalista there, the lowest damage of any of the marksmen as the game goes on. So you're really putting a lot of eggs in Trundle. Like, if you do have a late-game threat, it is going to be in that Trundle, which means it's going to be in the 1v1 side lane. So RNG's composition between Taliyah and Trundle can play a 1-3-1, which is what made them so powerful in 2017, but it hasn't been working for them. Their synergy and their pieces just seem really off.
So then, as an analyst, why do you put RNG in this sort of situation?
Because it's a practiced comp.
Okay, this is just more of a comfort pick then.
Yeah, it's the fact that they should already know how to play this. They're probably, I don't want to say experimenting with picks because we don't know what's happening in their scrims, but if they find the Trundle has been working for them into the Sion, and if they're able to execute that on a game day on stage, then that means that the Sion loses a lot of its efficiency and its power. What's interesting to me is that they decided to give Letme the Trundle, and maybe it's just because their communication is better in the 1-3-1, because Zatai is also known as a phenomenal Trundle player. So it's not like between their two top laners that Letme is just the only one that can play this pick. No, both of them can do it, which goes back to my idea that this is probably just a this is just a comfort thing. This is, okay, we played Letme with majority of it. It's just now Karsa as the new piece into this, what was a semi-finalist roster. Let's just try to run it.
Yeah, we also have to expand the conversation a little bit more. RNG's next opponents on Sunday are Edward Gaming. This is one of the biggest rivalries in all of the LPL.
Yep.
So maybe they've already played with Zatai. They feel pretty comfortable with him. Hey, we've got one more match against FPX before playing against EDG. Let's find out. Is it Zatai? Is it Letme? Who are we going to be bringing into this hype matchup? This could be a bit of a proving grounds for him.
Yeah, and it's also a warm-up for him. It's not just, proving yourself that you can start back on the roster. It's, we're against FPX. You'd have to think that going into this week in preparation, if you have FPX and you have EDG, who do you really think that RNG are really preparing for and warming up for their scrims? And so by going back to a very standard comp or a play style that they're used to, that they played all through 2017, experimenting with a few picks, which in EDG's recent game before they got destroyed by Rogue Warriors, it was actually the Sion pick against Suning Gaming that led them to a lot of their success. So if they can find a successful counter for that, that takes away one arrow out of EDG's quiver.
We actually have got some news updates for you. Due to the technical difficulties, we will be initiating a chrono break on the game, running it back to 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, Frosk, I wasn't too close, 53 seconds to be specific. I wasn't too close on the timer for when LWX was about to die.
Where the auto attack is in the air.
Yeah, so I just heard in my ear, it was 6 minutes exactly when LWX was about to go down. There is a 7-minute window to change. 7 seconds. That's of course a lot more.
Good morning, Dom.
Yes.
How is now?
Still, 7-second window for him to try to turn this around. Now he knows it's coming. He's got the ability to look into the future.
Groundhog Day.
Exactly.
LWX keeps waking up like,
learns how to play the piano.
Why do I keep getting this position where I always lose lane?
But again, we have to look at how FPX are going to have to play this out. Now that they know the gank is coming, this is a chance for them to pull back immediately. And we'll have to see if it changes out, right? If Karsa still heads down to that bottom side.
It's not even that. Even before the jungler may or may not get involved, there's still the fact that the Alistar and the Kalista had the wave frozen, because that's how that's going to open up. They want to keep the wave in the middle, not necessarily frozen, but try to neutralize it as much as possible and force Kog'Maw to approach and to try to CS, and then that's when they're going to trade the health and look for the all-in engage, which means that at some point, Pepper is going to have to come down there and either, I'd have to look at the wave more intimately, but usually you have to pull your jungler to break that if it is a freeze or if it is pushing back to FPX. And just kind of go with that flow. But right now, LWX, he made the wrong decision. He decided that I am safe enough, I have my W, I can approach this wave, and he was dead wrong because Alistar has flash.
Mistakes happen. I mean, even at the professional level, we see it time and time again. Still, the shotgun this time, it has kicked back and hit FPX in the face. The question is,
he didn't even load it.
Do they pull the trigger a second time, right? They fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, now the second mistake hasn't happened yet. We're in a very weird situation where he has a chance to learn from this opportunity.
It's probably just going to defuse. We'll have to see exactly where we come back into the game and where the positioning is. But obviously at a professional level, you'd assume, okay, if you give them 7 seconds, they're probably just going to back up.
Yeah, well, now we're ready to get back into game. We're going to toss it to our casters. Let's hear from them.
Cheers, Don. We're actually going to be jumping this one very quickly as action is definitely still happening in the game as we get into this one. And LPX, he's still dead. So he did learn from his mistakes. End of tomorrow, he just comes back in and dies again.
There we have it.
We don't have another Chrono Break, unfortunately, for you. You're just going to die.
Oh, there we go. Kind of just get that out of the way, because to set this up, I was like, you know what? The assured point is the fact that Letme is behind. I don't know what's happening at the bottom side of the map, and now we do. So now that actually occurred, I do still want to see what kind of play occurred for LWX to lose his life in that situation, because that is damaging. Because Pepper was able to get the lead in the top side of the map, but now that the bottom side of the map is failing against a Taliyah, Alistar, Kalista composition that's only going to get stronger with one more level when they ping 6. I mean, Taliyah's already 6, but level 5 on both Alistar and Kalista means that it's going to be so much easier to replicate the decision, especially now LWX is down both summoners.
Yeah, both summoners. Chris does still have his flash and his ignite, but it's really looking towards LWX right here, unable to teleport back into lane. It's going to be down in farm, and Uzi walking back into that bottom lane as well, looking to pressure out him. This little Kog'Maw once again.
Yeah, the only thing is, Braum is very tough in terms of protecting his AD carry. Sure, he can use his ulti, Q, and shield, but he's not an Alistar that can immediately just punt a person out. So the real protection here is the fact that LWX has a stopwatch. In fact, there are 4 stopwatches on the side of FPX, so they can go to the bottom side of the map and stop this aggression from coming forward.
Chris trying to contest the blue buff right here. Karsa pushing up. Triple knockup comes in as well. LWX approaching the play. Gonna be close, but Pepper just managed to make it out.
Okay, that was close. That was close. That was close. But, you know, blue buff secured. Nice. It was kind of difficult, of course, because if FPX were in position a lot sooner, they would have actually been able to force that fight. But once again, we're back in a position where RNG want to create more opportunities. Didn't even find themselves at level 6 at that point in time. So sure, they were able to get themselves a blue buff. The next opportunity might be that tower.
Yeah, we'll see if that's actually the case. Uzi pushing back up into this bottom lane alongside Ming right here, and then they've got this wave pushing back towards them right now. You know, LWX again being denied resources, and you also have Karsa winning in the wings. He's just finishing up his Krug camp, looking maybe towards his bottom lane with the wave pushing in.
And thankfully, just because he has Spellbook, reducing the cooldown of the summoner spells, he's going to get flash pretty quickly. So this window that Karsa has, or I think he does have, was going to have, I suppose, before he based, that was the only chance he was going to be able to get a gank off LWX without flash.
Pepper's here, though. He's looking for this potential lane gank to happen, staying outside of vision here.
This is just a very weird gank coming in from Pepper. I think he just wants them to get a base off, because ultimately, Crisp is not going to create a fight at all. They're way too close to their turret.
Yeah, doesn't have level 6 yet either, and plus the level 6 advantage is over to Uzi and Ming, so it would probably be a not great idea to try and engage on that one with Fate's Core and Unbreakable Will available, so we'll decide to back away.
Yeah, this is when I would join the Twitch chat and say nice gank lol, just because ultimately he just showcased himself on the map, just walks through the mid lane, throws a Q, he's like, hey, peace, I'm gone.
And now RNG can definitely assume that he is in the bot side of the map for the next couple of seconds here, so it does allow that Trundle to push up in the top lane, knowing that Pepper's not going to be able to gank him for the next 20 to 30 seconds. Now this wave is actually being stalled out by Gimgoon. He can't quite push up to the tower right here, because now he doesn't know where that Lee Sin is. He's still getting ahead in farm, but I mean that tower's pretty healthy. It's been stalled out. Yep,
tower's healthy, Gimgoon's healthy. The only thing that's below 50% is the fact that Gimgoon doesn't have much mana. So that's the only thing that's stopping Letme from just looking to hammer down on Gimgoon. So Gimgoon does base and get the full HP and mana for himself. I wonder if he TPs the lane. Actually, he holds on to his TP. So he's actually holding on for it just in case the bottom lane fight does end up happening.
Pepper, he's ready for this one. It's going to be the 4-man collapse into the bottom lane. Crisp is by himself, but in comes a teleport as well out from the top, and the mid lane is in from FPX. RNG need to try and make it out of this one alive. Karsa's being jumped on, and in comes the Gimgoon from the back line. Bing lands the Winds of War, follows up with the Justice Punch. Uzi, he's got Alistar Prime, throws him into the back line, takes out LWX, and down goes Pepper as well. Letme returning onto Crisp right here, and RNG are turning this one around. Bing comes in from the mid lane and comes in with the ultimate once more. Lands knockup onto 3. Massive taunt comes out, trying to turn this fight right here. Chris backs away, and down goes Bing. Gimgoon in a 1 versus 4, kited away from 3 kills to RNG.
They were so close to getting that 1 kill onto Uzi. That was the primary target that they wanted to be able to get themselves with, but Bing wasn't in the fight until, I would say, halfway through it, when Uzi was already in a pretty comfortable position for himself. So that was a great start. FPX really saw this dive coming in. Great ulti from Chris to keep 3 members underneath the tower. So honestly, if you run that fight time and time again, I would say 6, maybe 7 out of 10 times, FPX would come out ahead. It was just really unlucky positioning, so immediately take a look at this. Sion comes in with a proper TP, ults in. What's unlucky about this is the fact that when he channeled his Q, he gets punted out immediately. So that was really strong from Ming, so he wasn't able to get the 2-man knockup. So Xiaohu goes down, but just take a look at Uzi. He just needed 2 more auto attacks to get it down. It does happen, but there's no follow-up, and that's the real problem here. Even, of course, using his stopwatch, so he stays alive for so long.
It was unfortunate because Bing, he managed to land a pretty nice taunt there as well. It looked like FPX were able to turn the fight, but Uzi escapes on a sliver of HP, and then 4 kills in the end to RNG. Pepper, he actually died and then respawned by the end of that fight, so it was definitely a prolonged one as Pepper looked for the kick right into Bing's open arms. Karsa tried to defend the top laner right here, but he's just going to straight up fall to Bing. Good play from Pepper, but now Xiaohu and Ming coming into this play. 3 versus 3 once more, and Herald is low, down to 1,000 HP. Who's going to get the smite down? It's going to be Karsa. But FPX are able to zone the rest of RNG away from the eye.
Yeah, of course, he had his passive proc. Of course, Karsa did. So he was able to get the burst damage on towards the Rift Herald and secure it for himself. FPX, you're not going to choose the fight just because Pepper is the only real damage dealer going up against Sejuani and Alistar. It's way too easy for RNG to get that 1 kill.
And FPX still just staying around the area right now, making sure that everyone can rotate and just stop RNG from going back up to the Eye of the Herald right there and picking it up. So there's definitely an attempt right now to get back over to it. Ming has managed to pick it up though, and Pepper, he was the only person really playing Gatekeeper. The rest of his team actually just bailed.
Yeah, Karsa's laughing really hard here, just recognizing, of course, it's like, wait a minute, they only had 1 person defending the Eye of the Herald. You'd think that more people would be there. Usually it's a 2 to 3 man job. It makes it so much easier just bringing Xiaohu along just to be the damage dealer to kill out Pepper. So, yep, I mean, good idea from Pepper. Just had no one behind him.
Yeah, just needed more people. Bing went back to base, and I thought he was going to jump in with the ultimate, try and save Pepper right there, but decides to stay in that mid lane. And the Herald, the Eye of the Herald was not going to be up for much longer. It was going to start evaporating. So really, FPX could have committed that play for another 5-10 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. I would say 10, a little bit more in terms of the seconds. Gimgoon had a good hold to the top side of the map as well. Just unfortunate. So ultimately now Ming has it for himself. So your FPX, you just have to track where Ming is because that's where the play is going to be.
And now he's in the bottom lane, but he's got a good, I'd probably say 3 minutes from now to really make that play happen. And look towards RNG, see if they can crack a tower before that time and then rotate it, or just knock down the bottom tower. That would definitely accelerate that play down there into this Kog'Maw. Try and hit him while he's weak before he can get towards that Gwyn-2s and start fighting. Meanwhile, this mid lane, Bing potentially getting caught out here. Here comes the charge out from Karsa, lands the taunt as well. Flashes in a 1 versus 2. He's now got Pepper turning up to the play. He looks for the kick and now has the disengage. Karsa, he's still following after. He's looking for the stun, lands it, and he's got the rocks coming in from behind him. 2 kills to RNG. Big mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Ooh, dive in the bottom lane, and the tower's dead as well. LWX caught with his pants down.
Yep, 2 things. The first thing, where's your damage coming from FPX? Pepper is the only real damage dealer in that situation. So sure, Bing gets the taunt, but nothing's going to follow up because Xiaohu's at full HP. So that was just a bad call from FPX thinking that they had the damage when they didn't. And then on the bottom side of the map, LWX way too far out, farming the wave without Braum. What do you think was going to happen?
And this is going from bad to worse because right now, RNG are taking everything. It's just down to Xiaohu to escape from mid lane play because there was a teleport coming down from Bing, and he did it. So that's going to be a tower in the bottom lane, plus the dragon, plus an inner tower, plus 2 kills for RNG in the last 2 minutes.
He even got the 2-for-1 there. Sure, he was able to escape, but he gets, of course, the dragon as well. This was the one pick we're talking about. Look at where Braum is. Nowhere near him. Kalista is well and truly above 6. So at that point in time, it's so easy to bring your Alistar and to get the pick on.
Really just an unfortunate series of events here for FPX, and what that led to is almost an 8,000 gold lead at 15 minutes here for RNG. Is absolutely absurd, just getting all of these kills and the towers, all the objectives. And Letme, we're now visiting top lane island once more. It's been 15 minutes since we've really taken a look at this one, but he's gradually got ahead in terms of farm, and Gimgoon, he's about to experience spillover.
Yeah, so the early advantage that Gimgoon had for himself was the result was just the tower is not getting chipped down. That's it. It's not the matchup turning over entirely, so Letme has himself the Vamp Scepter, can heal up for himself, consistently kind of pressure the lane. The bottom side of the map just completely spill over in terms of the pressure that Uzi and Ming have.
Ming potentially getting caught out in the mid lane here. He does have the ultimate if he wants to use it. Pepper coming in from the sidelines, also with the teleport. FPX want this fight. LPX is quite a ways away, though Pepper looks to chase after. He's locked down in the Glacial Prison. Gimgoon trying to get into this play, but Uzi, he's untouched right now. He's starting to run down FPX, starting to try and turn this one around. Decimating smash, dodged away from by Uzi. Crisp on the retreat along with Bing, both very low. Pierce trying to keep Uzi in range. He's using the minions to keep chasing after. He needs that front line there. Pepper jumps in with the Zhonya's follow of the Galio, but everyone just runs away. Great combo coming in from Ming, and LWX, he's by himself. Chris can't defend him, and Gimgoon was looking to do what he could on the front lines, but everyone else is dead. Chris, he ran the wrong way. 4 kills to FPX, and 3 of those to Uzi.
Yeah, once again, FPX are put in a position, incredibly awkward position, where they're trying to figure out a way to get to the back line. But guess what's going to happen? Uzi has so much space to work with. Gimgoon, what are you doing, man? I guess he's just going to try and wait for as much time. I think he just needs to kill himself, actually. He just needs to kill himself.
To be honest, he's trying to go for the minion wave. Now he's in a 1 versus 1 against Xiaohu. There is a small chance. No, he misses the minion, so he's definitely dead. Now, Xiaohu finishes him off, and the mid lane tower will also fall. Another inner turret now for RNG. 14 kills to 3 at 17 minutes. Yep.
The only reason why I wanted him to kill himself is just to get on the map faster, because they're just stalling this one. So back on this fight. Decision, once again, is for Pepper to create a new team fight situation, so he goes golden to allow Galio to come in. Only problem to that as well, they're both low HP, and they also expose their carries on the bottom side of the fight. So they try to go aggressively on top of Uzi to get the kill and change the standard of the team fight. It didn't work, and they all died for it.
Now, initial flash was so good from Uzi, because then everyone was essentially locked into the play. It's not like Pepper can choose not to do it again. He's already there, gone golden. Bing has also clicked the ultimate button, so he's going to have to go in at that point. And Uzi, off the back of that fight, 100 kills away from 2,000 career kills.
That's quite a while, but you know what? The fact that he has 5 kills already in this game feels like if this is the pace he's going to have every game going forward, very much achievable.
We'll get it in 20 games.
By the season, yeah.
We'll get it by season end, or split end rather. Let's see if we can do it. 18 minutes into this game, and Infernal Dragon going to be the next dragon. The first one was Mountain going over to RNG, and Bing potentially getting caught in the mid lane. We'll have to flash away. Flick doesn't quite land, but Karsa from the sidelines as well. And Crisp, he plays bodyguard, but he gets Bing out of there, but he's dead.
The true hero, but the situation still remains.
Oh, Gimgoon getting caught as well. Flick comes in. Beautiful stuff from Xiaohu. And he's going to fall as well, pick after pick. And now it looks like the inhib is on the cards.
Yeah, you know what? The only winning point is the fact that the minions in the mid lane were getting killed out, but there's still minions in the bottom lane for them to take the bottom lane inhibitor.
Yeah, they had the setup already on that minion wave, and this tower is not long for this world when you have multiple demolished champions, especially Letme here on the Trundle. It's just a tower killing machine. And this is going to be an inhibitor. Not even before the 20-minute mark. LWX steps forwards, but not really what you want to do in the face of 5 angry RNG members. If you die here, actually could be the game.
Yep. So right now you can see the wards being killed out, the control wards that are currently stationed just to see if there's an opportunity for Ming to go for an headbutt pulverized combo. If it happens, guess what? That's game over. So it's a good call from FPX to stay back.
Look at the bot lane gold totals. 10,000 gold from Uzi here, Raz, to not even 5,000 gold from LWX. I don't think I've ever seen a bigger gold differential.
Yep. Like, at this point in time, honestly, don't know what LWX can do. Because sure, he's a Kog'Maw, he has Rage Blade, so there's some over-effectiveness on how much damage he's actually outputting in terms of how much gold he actually has. Sure, but you're looking up opposite from him, and Uzi just has 2 items going towards his 3rd item. He is so far ahead of him, he can actually just flash on top of LWX's head and then kill him in 3 seconds flat.
This is mind-boggling, like the amount he's ahead. We've got to come up with a new name for it. I feel like we've had the Flame Horizon, now we've got the Uzi Horizon, but that is unreal. 5,000 gold ahead at not even 20 minutes into the game for a single player.
Yeah, and not only that, of course he's died 4 times. Look towards the damage, of course, that FPX have for themselves. Get out of there, Pepper. One of those damage dealers, of course. Pepper is it. You can kind of save Bing, but only for a little bit of his combo.
Ming looking for the fight right here. It's 2 versus 3, but he's got Letme coming in from behind. They've found LWX. He flashes over the pillar. Chris trying to split the fight right here, but Big, he's already dead. Didn't even look like a tank. Pepper tries to close him from behind, but a fantastic ornament by Karsa stops him from even looking for the kick. He flashes away, trying to escape from the play. And Gimgoon now launching himself on top of Uzi, but the rest of his team is already dead. There's no Bing, there's no LWX. He assists with the Ikafian surprise, but this actually could be game right here.
And that's the thing. Letme puts down the pillar, and what is LWX going to do throughout the entirety of it? Slowed, was not even able to get an auto attack. That's just the game from them.
RNG pushing him. They already have Super Minion Wave in the bottom side of the map, and there's nothing that FPX can do. 20 minutes, not even 21 minutes into this game. RNG sweep FPX.
God damn. Actually, an insane series from RNG, because the first one, we really criticized them for not being clean, for having such a sloppy setting, having the early game lead, but the poor decisions later on in the game, it didn't happen. They finally got it on some hype team fight. But then you get into game 2, 20 minutes on that just because of a bottom lane fight. Just because of one opening that was off of a 2v2, honestly. Just a 2v2 fight coming out of Uzi and Ming. They get the kill, and then out of nowhere, they just snowball it.
I actually think that's our fastest game so far in the split. I need to double check, but I believe the last one went to Suning, who was around 22 minutes, and right there, that was not even 21 minutes.
Yeah.
So RNG, that wasn't even really a game. We got out of the early game, but already Uzi had essentially just won it out of the bot lane. And it did start on that kill, you know, in the bot lane. We didn't know what was going to happen for a second. We did have the Chrono Break happen, but still managed to find the kill in the end. Well-deserved bow going over to RNG, who do find the 2-0 on the day.
And that's just one of those things. I mean, we started the day with a discussion about tier lists and not having the tape about Uzi. He's only had that 1 week. Why would you have him on the top of the list if you've only had 1 week of play? But now we've just had one game where he literally wins his team based off of course, the 2v2 pressure. So, I mean, have more games like these and you're climbing.
You're climbing up the tier list and climbing up the standings as well for the whole team of RNG. And you know, we said it before, but this was important for RNG to find these 2-0s over some of the teams who are below them in the standings when they're in this situation, right? Because you're looking towards some of the teams that have a lot of potential. You look towards WE, you look towards EDG, IG, OMG. You know, you're looking for these teams really to find those sweeps over the weaker teams.
Yeah, I mean, this was honestly the second sweep in the entire split that RNG has had. That's how hard it's been for them, because they've gone up against worse teams, and they've always gone towards a 3-game series. Last one was Vici, still a 3-game series. This is the second time this split that they finally got themselves a clean sweep.
Yeah, exactly. It was BLG, WE, Vici, all 3-game series, and if they lose, it's either a 0-2 or a 3-game series as well. So good to see this from RNG today and maintain their winning streak, 4-game winning streak now, as we send it over to the analyst desk to take a look at that series.
Thank you, guys. And what a win from RNG. Pulse, you are correct. That is now our fastest game of the split. 21 minutes and 22 seconds was the previous record. And RNG just shattered that by, what, 40, 45 seconds?
Yeah, that was a longer pause than actual gameplay.
Exactly. But, of course, that being said, getting into the game itself, RNG, they demonstrated that they are the superior team today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it especially did rest on the shoulders of Uzi. He had insane gameplay, insane mechanics. I think there was multiple times that he was flashing frame perfect in some of these intense team fights. But the first thing that I want to look at is the second fight that happens bottom. Now, before we run this replay, I just want to go through some of FPX's mental processes here. So you just died in the 2v2. You're now Kog'Maw. You do not have any of your summoner spells. You're laning against a Kalista and an Alistar that are very soon going to hit level 6. Your tower is about 25% HP left on it. Where do you choose to go?
Absolutely all in.
Absolutely back bottom.
LWX.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that FPX are never in this position where they think about how to trade objectives. They always just trade aggression for aggression. Like, if a blow comes at them, they're swinging back. But they need to learn how to, duck and dodge a little bit, because they could have just rotated their Kog'Maw up into the bottom. Look at LWX. He's just died. He's coming back into this fight, and this is FPX being like, we just lost bottom. Double down, boys. Get the Sion in here, get the Galio, and everything goes wrong.
But look at Uzi on the side. He sees that Kog'Maw too far forward, cuts off the damage, and the kiting on the Kalista Oh man, this guy is so good.
And this is the thing, it's just a mountain dragon on the bottom side of the map. Yeah, it hurts to lose, but it's not like it's an infernal or something like that. If you swap your AD carry and your support back up into the top side of the map, you're effectively going to trade objective for objective. Like, hopefully you trade tower for tower, and then you have priority over Rift Herald. So it's these small instances that kind of give FPX their very unique flavor of being a very brawly team. The fact that when you're trading tempo, they want to trade by just running it straight back at you. But they need to kind of expand their repertoire and their playbook a little bit and look for more objective-oriented opportunities.
Yeah, this is where we have to look at the decision-making for the team, because as we saw with their game one, they had the composition for late-game scaling, but they still took early laning fights. They still tried to defend their turrets in the face of RNG constantly threatening with the likes of that Caitlyn. So what, as an analyst, can this team do to grow and evolve so that they can actually play out these conditions? Because they got the team composition, they just didn't quite play it out right.
Unfortunately, at this point, I would kind of make very simple or easy to execute compositions. So we're talking about like wombo combos, prioritizing, almost pulling like an Invictus Gaming and prioritizing winning lane matchups, because you just need to stop the bleeding right there. And before you get into really hard to execute compositions, you just need to make sure that you're even setting yourself up that once we exit lane phase, we can try to execute on win conditions. And so if you have something like an Orianna Jarvan comp, because it's probably the most signature comp in League of Legends, it's very clear what that wants to do. And then you just remind your players, it's about mid-game. It's about Orianna finding this power spike. So when you have that, go for it. And then once you have the basics, then you start building up on, okay, in this situation, this is the type of opportunity or trade that you want to make.
In order to teach the team the fundamentals first. Of course, the last set that I'm looking at right here for FPX was against LGD, and that was a swift 2-0 for the team over LGD.
A team that can't win lane phase and doesn't know how to play mid-game.
You're exactly right. So it forces these fundamentals in place because they're effectively given to them by the team that can't, I guess, disable them in that sort of regard. But when you look at a team like RNG, who have the mechanics to win the laning phase, to deny the vision of the jungle, it just becomes so much more difficult.
And then also have the experience with their veteran, like, this is Karsa and Uzi.
Yeah.
The 10-year on just those two players. And if you throw Zatai on top of it and then look at Xiaohu, who is also now a veteran kind of staple of the LPL, the amount of experience or the experience pool that those guys have to choose from, it's little things. You know, if you go back to game one and you see that LWX and FPX have just gotten a Baron and they want to use the Baron pressure to take the Elder Dragon, but Uzi makes the decision that he's just going to push the mid lane and force the Baron to be used reactively as opposed to chasing a kill with his team or clearing out a side lane and trying to get more gold. And it seems really little, but those are the types of decisions that FPX are often missing out on.
Yeah, and this is referring to that game one with FPX and RNG that sort of stalled out just a little bit more. But to continue this conversation on RNG, seeing that they are playing this sort of experienced style, we've actually got that mid-game fight. We can see that experience show during this replay that we've actually got for you, in which they put their trust into Uzi. They put their trust into the mechanics. Pepper tries to make a play, and RNG immediately all in and punish.
That's the second picture-perfect flash that Uzi has had this series, and Raz talked about him on the tier list. I put him at third because we simply just haven't had the tape, and Uzi sometimes does stumble domestically. Again, there's a reason why he's the crownless king, but he is not stumbling for this series. Since Uzi has been back, he has looked pretty hot fire.
And of course, the person supporting him in the bottom lane takes our man of the match for that game 2. At barely any health, he still goes in and finds the headbutt.
Yeah, and there's a reason why the Alistar was such a high priority in game number 1. It was to deny it from Ming. As one of his signature picks, we saw it in that team fight, like you said, very low health, follows up on Uzi's beautiful flash and kind of disengage, and then immediately finds a double knockup after the perfect timing stopwatch runs out.
And this is RNG getting a lot of momentum now with this win, bringing them to 6-4, chasing just a little bit higher in their group and getting closer and closer to the likes of Rogue Warriors and IG.
Yeah, it's the return of RNG, and what's really going to seal the deal and kind of cement them back as a powerhouse in the LPL will be once we exit cross-conference and they go back into their domestic conference. Because right now, the two top teams, Rogue Warriors and Invictus Gaming, are in RNG's conference, which means we still have about a week and a half before those teams have the possibility of running into each other again, and it's going to be a very different look since the first time both those teams got a piece of RNG.
Especially when we're looking at that IG and Rogue Warriors. Of course, they still need to keep their attention on Suning and Jingdong as we run it down, because again, though the West certainly is a very close conference, the East is still within touching distance on the other side. So RNG,
touching distance, they're slapping the West around.
Exactly. This isn't just quite they're going to win these games and they're going to get into the playoffs. This is still a battle that they need to fight, and we've seen them stumble close to playoffs before.
Yeah, and it's been, again, that mid-game and that individual performance. The fact that they're starting to warm Letme back up, get him back into the roster. Again, it technically could have been a 1-3-1 composition, but they snowballed so far ahead that they just grouped up for the 5v5 and used their gold advantage. But this is still RNG relying on the tactics and win conditions that they used all throughout 2017.
And now to turn our attention towards the next game that RNG need to play, it's against Edward Gaming. This is a huge rivalry in the LPL. Our match of the week, it's going to be happening next Sunday.
This Sunday?
This current next Sunday. 6 days from now, current next, it's the same thing at this point. This is a very long rivalry between the teams, and right now EDG look weaker than ever.
Yeah, but on the same side, you could say that RNG look weaker than ever about
certainly they're making
a week
mistakes,
and a half ago.
But they've brought Uzi back in. Now we can see that Uzi's still taking just winning games for his team every once in a while. When they can get some momentum, it's very strong. And IG already showed us the blueprint. All you need is just a little bit of momentum to stop iBoy, and it's an easy series win.
But the problem is that if RNG's success is so reliant on Uzi, they haven't run into a team that have a confident and capable bot lane to control the likes of Uzi. You know, Uzi's run through Mystic in the bot lane with a brand new support. When Zero was subbed in, suddenly Uzi and Ming really slowed down, and what should have been a definitive 2-0 for RNG turned into a 2-1 and a slugfest back and forth. Then you have, you know, RNG running into LWX, who has a notoriously poor lane phase. We haven't seen Uzi tested yet when he runs into someone like iBoy and Mako, who get so many of their team's resources. So if RNG's win condition is for Uzi to succeed, I don't know if Uzi has that same track record of success against a team that's all about their bottom lane.
And it's actually a good thing that we are talking about Uzi. We've got an interview coming up with him in just a few minutes. We're still making sure he's nice and comfortable here on the English broadcast desk as we get a chance to talk to him.
All I'm saying is that our other interviews, they're just like very quick. They're like 30 seconds up there, but Uzi, the king himself, you know, maybe taking a little bit of time.
We got to sit down. We got to put the cushions on the chairs, you know, make sure he's nice and comfortable.
Dust off his
some
throne.
water. Exactly. But he will be here joining us on the casting desk for an interview with Clement in just a few minutes, but still to talk about the legacy of this player.
He actually just walked in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, this is the closest I've ever been to the king.
But yes, to talk a little bit more about this legacy, this guy has been playing forever. We saw during the series, he is 100 kills away from 2,000 career kills. That is unthinkable.
On Reddit, there was a big celebration for Smeb. Congratulations, Smeb, for your 1,000th kill in the LCK. Uzi, you're 100 away from 2,000. Now, to be fair, Uzi has been playing professionally a lot longer than Smeb. But this kind of... This is a hallmark moment for the LPL English. I mean, when was the last time we got an interview with the king himself? Uzi I sitting next to Clement over there.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. have we had the
Never.
luxury before? Yeah, I guess that's it right there.
It's basically
we've
been
heard
Worlds.
through we've heard through conversations through other folks as mediums, but we've never actually had to have him on our own broadcast. So it is quite exciting to see him coming up here in just a little bit. But still, this guy is so good. You cannot discount the fact when playing against him. His playstyle is so iconic at this point, how he fights for every single CS. And thank goodness that he does exactly that, because now we actually get to hear his smooth, sultry tones on this broadcast. Take it away, Clement.
Hello everyone, and with me is the victorious Uzi. Uzi, 你可以跟大家打声招呼吗？
Hello， 大家好，我是 UZI。
The first question I have for you right there is congratulations so far on your Ear of the Dog. You guys have a 4-game win streak so far, but before the Chinese New Year, you guys actually lost 4 in a row. And when we interviewed Zatai, he was talking about how you brought back focus to the team. Can you tell us a little bit about what you said to the RNG that were down 4 in a row? Uzi， 我想问的是，就恭喜你们，你们现在目前狗年的话已经是4连胜了。这样，那我上一次在访问姿态的时候，他说你的回归让他们的队伍上面士气高昂，然后也是多了很多一个集中力这样子。但是其实在这个新年之前的话 ，RNG 的状态不是特别的好。你可以大概叙述一下，你回到这个队上的时候，你跟你的队友说了些什么，让他们重启这个士气吗？
其实，在年前 RNG 可能是因为遭到了一波连跪，所以说在心态方面可能会影响比较大吧。然后大家因为过年也休息了很长一段时间，所以说大家回来以后就是在心态方面都好了很多。然后也加上我的回归嘛，大家就是也算是重新起航嘛，就是大家一直就是打得挺好的。
所以你回来看到这个 RNG 一团乱的时候没说什么？
就没有了，因为其实就是可能就是在 一直输的情况下，所以说可能都会有点影响嘛。
Okay. So Uzi's answer is it's mainly because RNG before the Chinese New Year they ran into a very long losing streak and a lot of the mentality wasn't very good on the team. When I came back and also there was an extended break in between so everybody could kind of stabilize and just with a better mentality we were able to secure these 4 consecutive wins. My second question for you is Uzi, you've been a long time player and the most consistent thing about your play has been your laning phase. We saw it again this game, going up 80 to 100 CS against LWX. Can you walk us through how you gain advantages through the laning phase and how you think is the correct way to play the lanes? 我想问的话就是小狗，其实你的生涯当中，我觉得最突出的一件事情就是你的对线能力一直非常非常的强。那在这个系列当中，我们也看到，对上这个 LWX 的时候呢，领先80甚至100的这个吃兵数这样子。那你可以跟我们讲一下，你觉得这个对线过程中哪一些细节是最重要的？然后为什么你总是能获取这么大的一个 CS 领先呢？
其实我在对线的时候玩的也比较无脑吧，就是对面如果看到空血兵想吃的话，我就会上去打他，就他可能会被我吓到，然后就是，而且一般强势的英雄组合就是在这方面会确实让对面很害怕，就所以说他们会漏很多的刀嘛，就还是英雄的组合上面非常的重要。
So Uzi's answer is, well, I actually play kind of a mindless style. Every time I see them come in for a CS, I always try to punish. And with that style, a lot of times the opponents are very scared. They're frightened, and that way they lose CS. And also in this series, we had a much better bot lane combination, the Kalista and Alistar this game, of course. And so it really does come down a lot of times to the combination you have. My final question for you, Uzi, is this split, there's been a very big focus about you holding the door as kind of the old guard and new AD carries coming up to challenge you. Can you tell us about what your which new AD rookie do you have your sights on, and who do you think is gonna do the best throughout their careers? 就 Uzi 这一季的话，其实有一个很大的主题，就是你是代表是上一代的这个 LPL 的 ADC， 然后你看到一大堆新人来挑战你，要过你这一关。那你可不可以讲一下你自己最看好新生代哪一位 ADC， 然后跟我们讲一下为什么？
其实我自己因为是打机也比较久了嘛，对，然后其实我觉得就是现在的 LPL 的新 AD 就特别多 ，IG、EDG 的这2个就是我可能印象比较深刻的吧，因为也是成绩比较好的，所以说我觉得这2个可能在对线方面可能会更强一点。
Okay. So Uzi's answer is that, well, there's a lot of new AD carries. He doesn't name any names, but the ones from EDG and IG are most impressionable to me, and I probably think that these 2 AD carries will do the best. Just one last question. Uzi, do you have anything to say to your Western fans for their support, and what can they expect out of you from Worlds this time around? 就 Uzi 最后一个问题，我想问就是你想对西方观众或者你支持你的粉丝说一些什么吗？然后你可以跟他们讲一下这次世界赛他们可以对你有什么样的期待吗？
真的非常感谢国外的粉丝们对我的支持，因为在每一次去到国外都可以感受到很大的欢呼声，然后台下都一起喊着我的名字或者是我队伍的名字，就真的非常的开心。然后这次世界赛我也希望就是在每一次的世界赛都可以看到我们 RNG。
Okay, so I really want to say a lot of thank yous to our fans outside. Every time we go to an event outside of China, we can hear loads of people shouting out my name, shouting out the name of RNG. And we really, for me, I really hope that for our fans outside of China, we can show up at every Worlds event. A rather humble way of saying things. Guys, please don't go anywhere. We still have a great series next coming up from you, Jingdong versus EDG.